Your character, Trevor, is a ghost who is cursed to live the afterlife with no pants on. I want to make sure that you're not annoyed by how often people talk about the no pants thing.
Yes, I hear the same. I didn't recognize you with your pants on thing. I've heard it many times. I had never done a comedy before, so I was kind of thrilled that I wasn't going to be wearing pants because I was like, well, if I can't hit these jokes and just pull a wide shot, see my pasty thighs, and that should help me over the finish line. The idea that you get to have any impact on an audience is a real kind of blessing. I'm grateful to have reached people in some way, even if it's just my thighs.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Obsessed the Podcast. I'm Kevin Fallon, guiding you through all the movies, TV shows, and celebrity nonsense that we think are unmissable. And I'm losing my mind a bit. I mean, I'm always one particularly poignant toilet paper commercial away from breaking down into a pool of tears. But these last weeks have been hectic and crazy. I mean, there's like a war, and I'm a man pushing 40, and I might have to go fight in it. At least if actor Rob Schneider, whose illustrious credits include Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, has something to say about it. And you know what? In these times, I wouldn't be surprised if he does. There's still a partial government shutdown. I have a trip in August, and I feel like I should just go get in the TSA line now. And on top of it all, I'm not liking this season of The Pit. With all this going on, I'm so glad that this episode's guest is who it is. It's Asher Grodman, the star of the massively popular CBS comedy Ghosts. He's the two-time Critics' Choice Awards nominated actor who plays Trevor on the show. Or, in shorthand, he's the ghost who wears no pants. And God, Asher was such a good sport because you know I asked at least 100 questions about not wearing any pants. Do you blame me? I love this show. It's one of my comfort shows. It's full of heart and biting wit, and even though it's about, like, actual ghosts, it is remarkably relatable and human. I found it interesting that, like, in the past few weeks, I've been gravitating to all the broadcast sitcom girlies. It's a genre that, like, not too long ago everyone thought was dead, and yet now I love it. They're now my favorite shows, not just my comfort watches. I've been watching St. Dennis Medical and The Fall and Rise of Reggie Dinkins and Abbott Elementary, of course, which somehow hasn't had a bad season yet. I've really been loving the Scrubs reboot too. Scrubs is maybe the first show I watched that made me realize how much I love comedies that also make me cry. God knows I cry too much. Bravo is, of course, my safe haven. I went to the Real Housewives of Rhode Island premiere this week, and my God, you guys don't know what you're in for. Swingers, polyamory, a woman married to her sister's ex, and affairs are all brought up in the first minutes, and they're all about different cast members. I chatted with them all, and with Andy Cohen, who is genuinely not bullshitting anyone, so excited for this show. I've also, of course, been comforted in the recent Bravo chaos. I am a Summer House fan, and so are a lot of my friends and family. And so my group texts have been lighting up like a damn fireworks show over the recent scandal. If you have roughly 87 minutes, I'd get into it all with you, but I don't want to deprive you any longer of my conversation with Asher. He is so funny. I love an actor with a good sense of humor, which he certainly has. I guess you have to when you get your big break in TV and you're not wearing any pants. We talk all about the show's popularity, the surprising story about how he got the gig, and so much more. So here is my interview with Asher. Hello, Asher. How are you?
Hey, Kevin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. I'm really excited to talk to you. You're my favorite person to talk to who doesn't usually wear pants.
Oh, well, that does narrow it down.
Yes. Well, you don't know my life.
Fair point.
But it has been really fun to watch these last 5 seasons of Ghosts. Your character, Trevor, obviously, as I just joked about, is a ghost who is cursed to live the afterlife with no pants on.
Cursed, or as you know, he may feel it's the opportunity of an afterlife. So really, it's in the eye of the beholder.
It's true. But I'm really excited to talk to you. I know that there's a big episode that's airing about Trevor that we'll get into. We're going to get into how you got involved in the show in the first place and all its success. It's already been renewed for season 6. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really insane. And I think especially looking at the world and this industry, for someone to turn around and say, we believe in this show so much that we're going to pick you up for 2 more seasons at once is an anomaly of anomalies. And the whole show, making this thing is such joy, and above all of it, like the cast and the crew are just like, it's hard to imagine ever getting tired of making this thing with this group of people.
And I can say from my side too, what's really rare and cool about this show is because of my line of work, I cover TV and entertainment and movies. People are always talking to me, whether or not I ask them, about the shows that they're watching. And so many people that I know are watching Ghosts, and it's really rare for there to be just like a high volume of people. It's usually like one person I know is watching one show because everyone's attention is so distracted and diverted. But so many people watch and love this show.
Well, that's very sweet to hear. I mean, I know that there's a passionate fan base for this show, and thank God for them, because the support that they've given us is off the charts. And you're here purely because people are watching the show. I will tell you, as someone who lives in New York, and I love New York, is a very humbling place. So I don't feel that like, oh my God, goes, but I hear tales. I hear tales that people are off watching it somewhere. So that's good.
Yeah, I think if you were going to be walking around a mall in the Midwest, maybe that's where.
Is that it? Maybe I need to get out of New York. Yeah, it's possible.
You had one of the funniest lines that I can remember when I first talked to you when the show was premiering. We were talking about how this was your big break after, I think, like 20 years of
Yeah.
being an actor, and you were teaching at that time. And
Yeah.
you told me, 99 out of 100 people who get their big breaks usually have their pants on when they do it.
Well, here I am laughing at my own joke.
But I am curious. I mean, you do have, I think, or you must have, I would project that you have an interesting perspective on this show being a success, on people responding to your character, because like I just mentioned, you had spent 20 years getting to this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, this industry can ping pong you into a lot of crazy highs and lows, and there were many years where, like even having someone like not like me would have meant something, because at least they would have had an opinion on me. For the most part, I was just forgotten, or like barely a blip on a radar, or at least that's how it felt. And I do look. I don't think that I was born with any of the natural skill that it takes to be an actor. I think I made every mistake that I could possibly come up with, sort of like purposely self-sabotaging myself. And so I had to learn everything. I do believe that if you stick around long enough and have a way to support yourself and get yourself as many hats as possible, that it can happen for anyone. I truly believe that if anyone who puts their head down and works, has no guarantee how long it's going to take. It's like me, like almost 2 decades, as you mentioned. And there was a really low moment, dropped by agents left and right. And I did one play where I was dropped and open patent to play twice by 2 different agents.
Oh
like,
my God.
You did it twice. Yeah. And it's a long journey, but it does make you feel really great for the anomaly it is. A really great concept for a show. An amazing crew, and an audience with it. And I think something that's unique about our show is that we're dealing with stuff that's really hard to deal with. Death, mortality, this kind of existential loneliness. But I'm not wearing pants. And there's a Viking, and there's a hippie, and there's a closeted Revolutionary War soldier. And so we're looking at the things about humanity that are universal and are really sad and hard and challenging to look at. But we're doing so in a way that what I hear from fans a lot is that the show feels like a warm hug at the end of a hard day. And that means a lot. And as someone who's had a lot of hard days, I'll take that. So yeah, I think this is a long-winded answer, but there is a deep sense of gratitude for just having the job, and then for the people I get to work with, and the fact that I think the show is lightening, or it is bringing a level of joy to people. And the last thing I'll say is, and then I'm really going to stop talking. I have to stop talking. Is that I think there's something very comforting in our show about death, that at any given moment in the show, the audience is so far ahead of where these ghosts are. Like, these ghosts are all like born yesterday or trapped in the past. They don't know what the world is like today. So there's something, it's almost like, we're not challenging the audience. In a way, we may be challenging them, in their heart, but we're not, in many ways, we sign up where we came from. And so the audience has learned many lessons that the ghosts haven't learned yet. So it's kind of like watching toddlers trying to figure out how to be human. And we're just these like clowny kids up in our rooms while Sam and Jay are mommy and daddy, and we can't leave the house, so it's just a show that takes very difficult circumstances and questions and issues and puts them in a very accessible and creative space.
Yeah, and I love what you said, that it's a show that feels like a warm hug. And I always prefer my warm hugs to come from men who aren't wearing pants. So I was wondering if you could talk to people who might not be familiar with Ghosts. You just gave such a wonderful description of the show, but who Trevor is.
I get a little eloquent there. I was a little surprised after through that. I was like, wow.
It was quite gorgeous. I was really impressed. But tell the people who, beyond the fact that, as we've said so many times, he's not wearing pants, who is Trevor, this ghost that we're talking about?
Trevor is, God's the age-old question. Trevor is a former frat bro, finance legend, Lehman Brothers guy from New York, who's Jewish, party animal, loyal to his crew and anyone who comes into his crew. He's got an edge. He's absolutely a womanizer. He lived a life where basically anything he wanted, he was able to get, whether it was seducing someone or getting into a party or getting to know this celebrity or taking helicopters to work. He just lived in a kind of heyday, which is reflective of the 90s as we look back at it now, where it wasn't social media that was, holding people accountable. Like, just lived in a world of excess where everything was a yes. And I think a lot of the personalities of the ghosts reflect the time periods that they're in. It's just what's unique about Trevor, I think, is it's a time period that I would imagine a lot of our audience, probably the broadest swath of our audience, remembers, because it's just so recent. And it does, the 90s, like a little brother of today, as we were just like, it's the days of, You've Got Mail and AIM and stuff like that. It's just the beginning of like online dating hadn't really started at this point. So there's Trevor lived a very, let's say, he did not live an innocent life, but he is in many ways innocent to the world that we're in today. And then the other fun thing about Trevor is, of course, we all have our silly little ghost powers that add up to basically nothing. But with a lot of effort, Trevor, with his little fingers, is able to move objects. But it aged very well because we live in a world of touchscreens. So now Trevor, in some cases, borders on a god. It's very powerful.
And the really fun thing to watch. The really fun thing about watching Ghosts is that you do see how, the ghosts that we met in season one in the early episodes of the first season, and might have had an impression about because of the time period they came from or how they present, they have evolved and, like you mentioned before, like sort of humanized over the course of the 5 seasons. But the fact of the matter is, when audiences are first presented with Trevor, he does very much exude this type of finance douchebag bro kind of person. And I'm curious about two things. One, how you felt about the fact that you did an audition for a finance douchebag bro kind of person, and they thought, this guy is perfect. I'm curious how you felt about that. But also, maybe if you knew people from your life that might have informed your familiarity with that kind of type.
Well, I went to college at Columbia and knew a lot of finance guys or soon to be finance guys. So it was not a world that was unfamiliar to me. And I certainly pulled on some of that. I also just remember like the pilot was so well written. And I think the first words of the pilot, or one of them, is the Trevor's little talk of the week, which was it was the summer of '98. My Lehman Bros boys and I, we scooped a copter to beat the traffic out to the Hamptons because that's how we roll. And that's such a specific point of view and a specific dude that a lot of what I looked at on the page was like, this guy is crafted. I just had to get out of the way and play the scene and not try to like create some extra shit. A lot of the people in our show, I'm sure many of the people who auditioned for the show were comedians.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do comedy. I didn't come from a comedy background. I'd never done a comedy at all before Ghosts. I joke that like Amadeus is a comedy if you don't count Act 2. But that's the closest that I've come. And the only thing that I saw on the page and I was like, oh, this isn't really there, is I felt that this guy, like at the core of the party that Trevor always wants to live, is this kind of like, I hesitate to say puppyish, but is this kind of desire to like have everyone together. Like the joy of life is the party, which means it's not about losing your senses. Like, yes, he's doing every drug and he's having sex left and right and he's doing all the shit he wants to do. But at the core, it's about that kind of found family that he has and the loyalty. And that's not so clear in the earlier episodes because you reveal more and you learn more about Trevor and his backstory. That stuff comes out more. So that kind of like playfulness thing is it. I just tried to bring that to it as well. That kind of like, I guess, puppyish thing. But a lot of it was just kind of like honoring what was on the page. And then, as you progress with the show, the pilot is always like the clearest thing. Right, because more effort has gone into creating that pilot than any other episode you'll ever touch. So it's the greatest window into who the character is. And as time goes on, the writing, first of all, is crunched for time, and then it becomes a little more of a dance where the actor has to pick up the pieces to say, okay, let me, in other words, the actor has how to meet the language a little more than the language we need actor, if that makes any sense. Just because we're, this model of TV that we make, like we're turning around these episodes week by week. Like if you're on our production design team, you get like a 72 hours notice to build ancient Egypt. Like this is an athletic feat, this show, especially a show that is as ambitious as ours that goes back in time, which is why I keep coming back to our crew in Montreal. They are incredible. What they're able to turn around such a tight schedule.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about Trevor is that all of the ghosts have sort of tragic storylines about how they became ghosts. Like that is as funny as the show can be, that is a part of it, what it is that you can't get around. Like it's sad that people die, but there's something about Trevor that I think might be extra tragic, if this makes sense, because he was really young. He was in his early 30s when he died. These other ghosts lived long lives and have all this lore behind them, but Trevor didn't really get to experience life besides that sort of like powdered keg of partying in the 90s. And I wonder if, for all the jokes there are about him throughout the show and that you get to deliver, do you sense sort of like a little bit of sadness underneath it because of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I I we've had a few of these. For those of you who don't know the show, it's an ensemble of 8 of these ghosts. And so for the most part, we're handling stuff in the house, and it's about the ensemble, it's about the couples, Sam and Jay. But every once in a while, we do these episodes or these storylines that delve back into someone's life, um, and one of them particularly, those Trevor storylines are really impactful because his life is still tangible to him. His parents are still alive. His brother's still alive. The impact he had on his work and his field is still there, mixed with his power where he can, like, we have an episode where he's swiping on dating and is like successful.
Yeah.
Like he's really good at it. He buys an identity on the dark web and starts getting a job and working just for the thrill of having a job again. And so that episode, actually, the work retreat directed by Katie Lock O'Brien, I think that's such a beautiful episode because it is a guy who is on the way by death to be alive again, to interact with the real world. And I won't ruin the end, but it does sit you in a place where he's almost forced to like re-experience his own mortality all over again. So yeah, I think what a lot of the ghosts are very much at the point in their death where they just are waiting to get sucked off. Which, if you don't know the show, that's the term that Trevor, for a joke, taught everyone is the correct way to describe getting taken up to heaven is to get sucked off.
Yes, that required explaining. So thank you.
Yes. While everyone else is trying to get sucked off, Trevor is certainly trying to get sucked off. But I think Trevor is still probably one of the few, probably the only one at this point, maybe Pete, who would much rather be alive again. And because his world it's still right there. So yeah, I think Trevor's constantly in a place of still processing his death. And the world taught Trevor that he could do almost anything, and the afterlife is teaching him that he can do even more than he imagined. So he would love to be alive. And we had episodes coming up later this season that once again put him in that pocket of like, oh my God, there's something else that I could do and forever change the world. And it'll actually be, I think, the first time where where it's Trevor and not the circumstances that change his mind.
And there's also moments of
There's a tease for you.
Yeah, there's also moments of humbling for Trevor.
Yeah.
There's one coming up that I was hoping you could talk about, where this sort of ruse or miracle or hijinks of Trevor, having a real life job, even though he's a ghost, sort of comes back and bites not just him, but Sam and Jay in the ass as well. I was wondering, without spoiling things, if you talk a little bit about that, because it's one of those very cool episodes that I think each ghost gets to have a few of each season, where it's really a lot about your character and his relationship with these humans that have become his unwitting guardians.
Yeah, we have a little run at the end of the season that built on this. And first of all, I give our writers' room such credit because this whole thing of Trevor having a job is such a brilliant idea. I'm mad at them that we're not doing more with it because it's just like such a great idea. And I feel like it could go in many directions. I'm not really mad, but I'm just like, it's so fun. But yes, it does come home to roost, I guess. And that's kind of what I'm alluding to with what I said earlier. It's not it's not the same episode, ironically, but it is a place where Trevor is forced to realize that the world that he wants to live in is actually not accessible to him without hurting the people in the world he's currently living in. So there are suddenly decisions he has to make, where in earlier episodes with this stuff, it's about processing his feelings or it's about coming to terms with loss. And this is there too. But there is a world that he is trapped in with people who he has developed these deep relationships with. And there are avenues with which he can feel alive again, but they're often at odds with the things that the people in the house need. But it is fun because you really get to see Trevor's. It's funny. Trevor can come off like he's not the sharpest tool in the shed sometimes, but I keep coming back to like maybe outside of Eddie, maybe Trevor's crafty as fuck. But if you look at the shit that this guy has done, like creating dating apps, getting an identity in the dark web, working at a job and like being one of the best employees, like he's raking in money. He's buying sports cars. His business acumen is off the charts. So yeah, it would almost be dangerous to know what Trevor without a filter, how far he'd be able to get in his afterlife.
I almost like shuddered to imagine, to be honest.
Right? Yeah.
I want to before I do this one last thing to wrap up. I want to make sure that you're not totally exhausted and annoyed by how often people talk about the no pants thing.
Man, listen, I'm grateful to have a job, and yes, I hear the same. I didn't recognize you with your pants on thing. I've heard it many times. I can even see on people's faces where like they're looking at me, they want to say it. They know I've heard it so many times. They even start apologizing before they start saying it, but then they still say it.
I know. I'm
but
no
the truth
better.
is, at the end of the day, like, how lucky am I? Get to be part of this thing, and it's such a unique character, and I'm honored to be able to play him. So I'm all good. I'm down for and the other thing is, it is, no matter how you look at it, it is a reflection of an audience's relationship with a character. So like, there's no bad in it. It's if anything, it's endearing. It's just it's the same joke over and over again.
Right.
But it's always endearing because you said earlier, those 2 decades, like the idea that you get to have any impact on an audience is a real kind of blessing. And so I'm grateful to have reached people in some way, even if it's just my thighs.
Well, I'm grateful as well because every time I watch the show, it reminds me I have to start doing squats. So it motivates me in that very little way. It's a bit of a motivation for myself as well.
Yeah, it does. It does. You have to really embrace the leg day. It's certainly be. I didn't know. No one knew. Because the audition obviously was not practice. In case you were wondering, it's just an audition, and I had never done a comedy before, so I was kind of thrilled that I wasn't going to be wearing pants because I was like, well, if I can't hit these jokes, if I'm not, Brandon Scott Jones is one of the funniest people I've ever met. I'm not that guy. It's not this. I just haven't spent years doing improv or Richie Moriarty, and like, so for me, I was like, well, if I miss that joke, I can just pull a wide shot see my pasty thighs, and that should help me over the finish line. So in the beginning, it was a comfort. When we get to like, January in Montreal, it's a little less comfortable.
I can imagine. Listen, Asher, whether you're wearing pants or not, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Actually, I can't see your bottom half, so I have no proof one way or the other right now.
And there's really no way to know.
Yeah. But I love the show. I love your character. I love talking to you. This is so much fun. So thank you.
Kevin, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, for supporting our show. I hope we're doing this many, many more times.
I hope so too. Thanks. Thank you so much, Asher. That was so much fun. I promise the next time I see you, I will not ask you about not wearing any pants. I also love that Asher is a person who is so nice, but plays a douchebag on the show. Do you have other actors who are that way? Let us know. And also, let us know what your comfort watches are right now. We love to hear from you. Leave us comments. And as always, subscribe to us on YouTube at the Obsessed channel. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like me, maybe subscribe to my Substack at obsessed.substack.com. Thank you to our producers, Devin Rogerino and Rachel Passer, and we'll see you next time.